Hello everyone, this is Saurabh. Welcome to the Options Engineer channel. Today I am walking through Skyline 0DTE end of day version 1.1 using a real end of day trade from August 6th. A variation of July 31st, I had posted a video recently as well. The trade began with SPX around 7711 to 7712. Later in the day, SPX moved down towards roughly 7701 to 7702. The late move changed the state of the structure. I observed the position and then added only the adjustments allowed by the playbook. The purpose of this video is not to make a performance claim, it is to show the process, the sequencing, and how the trade evolved. I will show the details in the demo. The process is traditionally simple. First, define the risk. Second, observe where the market and the structure are moving. Third, check whether the playbook gate is actually satisfied. Fourth, adjust only when the rules allow it. And finally, replay the full life cycle afterward. The key point is that no favorable state means no force adjustment. The process comes before the outcome. This is the timeline at a high level. The opening structure was established between about 227 and 229 Central Time. The last day sequence then developed quickly, and additional playbook actions around 252, 253, 254 Central Time. In the demo, I will be walking in the Eastern Time zone for the replay. The important point is how compressed the decision window became. These are the actual broker filled snapshots for the trade. On the left is the opening sequence recorded around 227 to 229 Central Time. On the right is the later adjustment sequence recorded around 252 to 254 Central. I'm using these only as execution references. They are not instructions to reproduce the same orders. Now let's go into the options engineering OS and where I will go walk through a replay of the overall trade. Now we are on the options engineer OS and I will walk through the setup here. So we are at 3:20 p.m. Eastern Time and SPX is around 7714.9. And the structure being displayed here is slightly different from the structure I had walked through on for July 31st, where we had four 10 points butterflies and they had 5-point overlap and a 5-point floor. Here we have two 10-point butterflies and a put debit spread and a call debit spread on the left and the right, overlapping by 5, as the cost was very close to getting a butterfly with a floor on the left side or the right side. So the advantage here is that it gives a setup where if the market moves outside this setup, the trade would be naturally profitable. So now let's walk through the timeline here. And this trade was set up around 3:30 time frame. So I'm just going to go to 3:30 and lock in, and we're going to get to the entry here. So we can see that there is $170 in capital at risk. Overall debit is 670, and that's the setup right now. The strikes shown here, just for the simplicity, for the left and the outer debit spreads are from a butterfly structure, but they are normalizing to debit spread. And the middle two are the butterflies that have a 5-point overlap. So we are going to continue walking through here, and we can see the market is in that range. And there's no action taken at this time because market is staying in that range and trade is slightly positive. And we see here the market has started to shift down a little. So at this point, similar to the July 31st setup, we have a playbook defined here where we are going to capture some of the profits that are coming in and try to reduce the risk on the overall setup here. So continue observing here. And so as we move forward, the market is in the range, and now it's starting to come down. And I'm still observing. I'm not taken any action at this point, and now I see the market has come down a little more towards the put debit spread, and that's in money. And at this point, we can see there is profitability. And I also can see that from the structure standpoint, if the market falls down further, I have a positive zone coming after 7695. So at this point, I decide to enter into this adjustment, which is similar to a 5-point debit spread for 7705, 7710, but it's structured through a broken wing butterfly that gives an additional peak at 7715. Now we continue observing, see how the market is doing here. So as the market starts to move back up, so which is where the this structure of the call hedge started becoming profitable, and it's also moving towards the center, one of the peaks of 7710. So now it's at 7710, and around this time I decide to uh, add a put spread hedge, and also approximately at similar time but slightly later in the snapshot, but we'll do it on the timeline here, and a butterfly at, so the put spread hedge is 7705 and 7700 to lock in any movement that if the market goes back, and then the put hedge is from 7710 to 7705 to 7700. So this converts into a debit put spread as a combination of these two. It locks in if the market moves down here. So now we'll look at how the overall combined structure looks like. So now we're looking at a combined payoff profile of the overall starting structure and the additional adjustments that were added. We can see the capital at risk has reduced significantly. It is not zero, but has come down significantly by adding different adjustments. And we continue moving forward here in the timeline and not planning to do any more adjustments at this point. And we continue moving here. We can see now the PNL is at 234, and this is from a current capital at risk, and it will be slightly different when we look at the starting capital at risk. So we continue here, and the market came down, which was a risk zone. So this is where if the market had closed at this point, we could have ended up losing $49 on one contract basis or somewhere similar. So, and then we keep observing, and we see that market closed at 7710, very close to it, and the overall PNL was 326, and we can now go back to see how what it looks as an overall starting structure to here. So now we are looking at all the payoff diagrams, and the rightmost one is the combined one. And we can see that we started with a capital at risk of $170. That was the max loss we could have had. And we ended up with a max loss state of capital at risk of $49. So we reduced that by close to $120, and we had a PNL of $326 on initial capital at risk of $170. So good returns here, percentage standpoint. 3 closing ideas after this demo: define the risk before the trade becomes fast, follow the playbook gates instead of reacting emotionally, and replay the outcome so each case study can improve the system. If you would like to explore more of the options engineering framework, research, videos, and educational coaching, scan the QR code or visit theoptionsengineer.com. Please like, subscribe, and comment with any questions you would like me to cover next.